class. After, yeah, tiring 30-second walk. Here we are.
Form which you would build on as well. So here we have two soleras which are on the side of the benches there, and they are carved into a dome in this area here of 6 meter radius. 6 meter dome. This radius of 6 meter. But here it comes up and it's then flat in this top section here. So they're flat, and then what we call the lower harmonic bar, the bar below the sound hole, is then arched into 6 meter radius, and all the struts are arched here. So what we do is we build the dome into the guitar here for strength, because if it was flat, it would simply go concave, and also it would lower certain tensions in the instrument. So that enabled us to make a thin top, because we are thinner, we have more strength as a dome than if we were flat. There's different schools of thought. In Madrid, more recently, since the 60s and 70s, they've tended to build more flat, but put an arch just in that bar, but put the struts on flat. And then they find, you see a much flatter sound walls in Madrid. In Granada, in southern Spain, we have used much more of the dome as well. It works out about 2.8 height from here, 2.8. So, you see here, this is before the back goes on. Imagine this being in here like this. So to actually build, we would make the top, make the neck, make the sides, bend the sides ready, and then we would have the back already prepared with the white bars and ready to go. The back has the same doming as the front of 6 meter. So
the same shape.
The same shape, yeah. I used to use 25 feet radius here, which is, I can't remember what that is in meters. And then I used to use a 15-foot back, so a highly arched back and a much flatter front. And then I've much more along with most Spanish makers now using 6 meter, and I find 6 meter for the back is a lot easier than which is 19 foot. It's a lot easier than a highly arched thing, because you have all sorts of problems because the waist comes up higher. In bending the inlays in there, it's much more complicated. So with a slightly lesser curve on the back, and you can always compensate. You can compensate by thicknessing, by strut height, all sorts of things. You can compensate for less doming and more doming. So 6 meter front, 6 meter back. So we build like this. So then the sound ball goes in its position. We fix the neck into place. We bring the sides after having cut them to their length here. And we don't use this system here. We're going to use a wedge system, an aperture system. So we have a wedge, which we push the wedges in from this way here, from the back down, through here, which pushes the sides hard up against the front here. I used to use this traditional way of having these two slots. It's a horrible thing, because if you cut it wrong, it only works when you've got it doesn't work. It's awful, and then it's too loose, too tight. You can even break the sides if it's too tight. It's really horrible. So here, what we use here is this system here, like that. There's the side here, there's the wedge here, super strong here. So you see here, this wedge.
And then the wedges are glued in with the neck heel?
We glue the wedges in from the back only. The side on the front has no glue in here at all.
Okay.
Which means that we can later on carve the shape here. Because if you glue the side into the front, A, you've got glue in the joint, really hard, like messy. And also B, you cannot carve when you have the glue. When you carve here, we want to change the shape of the heel after you've pulled it together. You can then cut that and it will fall away.
Right.
Whereas if it's glued, it's horrible. And you can't never clean in there. So there's no glue ever in here, only on the inside. So this is a 7-string Curia instrument.
Is this a standard for both classical and flamenco in Spain, as far as not having a dovetail?
Yes, exactly. This is the way. This is called the Spanish method, using a through neck.
I love it. I hate dovetail.
Through neck.
Well, I mean, I love dovetailing, but
this has its other challenges.
Okay.
But yeah, dovetail that's much more French, German, Italian style of construction.
Okay.
Which the instruments that came out of Germany and went over across to the States with Martin, Stauffer, Martin.
Yeah.
They were all not necessarily dovetails, but most of the dovetails.
And that was the number one repair I ever did, was resets on
reset necks,
acoustic guitars.
exactly. Yeah, which the good thing is that you can reset, but here you can't reset. You can't. So we build, but here, what we're doing is we're setting the neck angle by different spaces, and here we're setting the neck angle. So when you take it out, the neck angle is all set.
It's preset.
It's preset. Comes out, fingerboard goes on. There's no adjustment to the neck.
Super.
There's no Allen keys to do this or that. But again, of course, here I've got a reinforcement in here, and so we will reinforce the neck with an ebony strip inside here. We'll route out and put an ebony strip in here for stability. But of course, there's no truss rod. There's no adjustment. So we have to be clever. There's less tension in the steel string. There's less tension. So if you have a lot of tension, truss rod is great, because if it moves up and there's nothing to adjust it, you're stuck. You're like,
slide guitar.
Oh, yeah. So
what is that neck angle?
That angle, I couldn't tell you the neck angle, but I can tell you what the deflection is at the nut.
Okay.
Which is for Flamenco will be 1 millimeter here and a classical 1.5.
Okay.
What that means is, when I talk about deflection here, if you imagine a straight line between here and here and here, this neck is on a Flamenco guitar tilted forward by 1 mil.
Okay.
On a classical guitar, tilted forward by 1.5. So it's actually closing up already. It's doing that. That's what we have. We don't have a back bend. This neck doesn't come back this way. It goes forward.
Oh, this is totally foreign to me.
With a steel string, normally the back deflection is about 4 to 5 mil back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once we got this in here, once we got the neck and the sides and everything in place, and we would then put in these what we call peones, rinconeras in eastern Spain, tentillones in Madrid. In Granada we call them peones. Peones. Un peon is a worker. It's a chess piece. It's a peon.
Like a pawn.
So these are called peones.
And so this isn't like a pre-cut piece of purfling. This is individually placed.
Individual blocks.
I like it.
So I said, put your music on.
Just
And then we
want
might say,
to patience.
6:25. I say, you want a job for the evening? Los peones. We give you instruction, then you get to 8 or 9, just like, So,
awesome.
and you don't have to sit there for 2 minutes holding on. I will explain. Once we've got this in here, the next stage here would be, and the sides are pre-formed into their taper. There's a taper. This is a different dimension here. This is narrow here and thicker here, but they are pre-formed into that shape. All we then have to do is put it in a curved lining along the top here, which then supports the back when we glue the back on. If we didn't have the curved lining on here, when we come to route out to put the bindings and the purflings on, the back would fall off in areas where it's not touched. So we reinforce at the top here with a lining, what we call a curved lining, which is a piece of wood with slots in it.
Okay.
So it's there.
So the curfling is on the top,
Yeah.
or the back rather.
On the back, on the top here. When that's on, we'll level everything using a big dish and sandpaper here like this. Which simply is ride the bus here for a while, all perfectly, not as easy as I'm making it. It will all be there. We'll mark with chalk and use a combination of plane and that until the back is then perfectly formed into a stone, and then we can then start to apply it to fit the back. So we'll fit the back with 6 notches for the back bars. Will fit into the lining inside the sides. Then we're going to glue it on with the big trumpets and lights. And now we'll do some magic, put a magic in there, and then we'll take the instrument out. And that should happen at the end of week 2, beginning of week 3. So we have 2 weeks
to get to this point.
To get to this point. So we're going to be making components, and you won't know. You'll be like neck, front, back, bottom block, and then slowly everything comes together, and then the instrument is there, and then that's a game changer. That's then level 2. So instrument on the bench, suddenly it's got a name or whatever it is on the bench, and then it starts inlay, all sorts of things like that. fingerboards, bridges, all these things. So, so if by the end of week 2 you're like, oh, I'm not anywhere near, you know, the other guy there, you know, then it doesn't matter, because sometimes we will put you onto other jobs to sort of, because what we're not going to do, we're not all going to go forward as one group of 6. We're going to go forward as 6 unique builds. So don't look at your neighbour saying, oh, he's got me. First of all, say, okay, I'd like you to build your bridge while doing something else. And then, so the bridge might be done already. And then the other guy, I've not built my bridge, but I've done this. So if we are Wednesday week 3 and we're just closing the box, that's fairly common. So it's not something to worry about. But that's sort of halfway through the course, we should be in the mould and about to come out. So anything else I can say? I think that's...
How do you varnish the...
To be varnished?
No, varnish with the...
With the spray? No, well...
No, we don't do with the spray.
No. In the 4 weeks that we've got, if you're super fast, after 4 weeks, after 3 weeks, and on Tuesday of the final week, Tuesday and Wednesday, straight into French polishing to get the idea of how the French polishing. But French polishing takes minimum a month. So if we were to make the course 2 months, we would just do a month of polishing, so we might as well make another guitar in that time, because you can only polish for a certain amount of time. But we will, some of you, we will, depending on the time, we will show you the entire, and everyone, I want everyone to know how to French polish an instrument. But whether we actually get to do it here or not depends on the speed that we make.
But the French polishing is only
It's
the
not
board.
the cloth, everything, the whole body.
Just straight shellac with
With straight shellac. French polishing is traditionally done with a cloth, and muñequilla we call it, with alcohol, with shellac which is diluted with alcohol. And we use pumice powder as a grinding agent to grind the surface of the material to produce a paste which fills the pores. You don't fill the pores with pumice. You use pumice to make a paste which fills the pores. I used to think that, many people think that the pumice is the pore filler. It's not, it's to produce the paste. So, if you understood about the polishing, there's lots of tutorials on YouTube about polishing. You know, you can take the instrument back and you can count on polishing a month or 2, whatever it is, produce a great result. If you feel, I don't want to do that, we can then send the instruments at cost to 2 polishers in Granada, Antonio Ariza and Javier Campos, who are world-class polishers, and they will do an amazing job French polishing. Or you say, well, I'm really brutal with the guitar, and I can send to them a spray finisher who can use nitrocellulose or polyurethane on the back and the side, and nitrocellulose on the front, something like that, to give you far more resistance if you feel like it. Because French polishing is quite a sort of delicate material, and with sweat and damage, and, you know. So sometimes people say, well, I don't want the French polish, I want to use the nitrocellulose, which is what I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend polyurethane, I would recommend nitrocellulose. Then you've got much more resistant finish. So, before we get cracking, I'm just going to very briefly explain what we're going to be building, in a sense. And I've got plans that will come, so you will have your own plans to take away. But here, this is what we would call a Granada 5-fan system. These are the fan struts here. And it has here a bar under here. So this is a bar, and this line represents the middle of the bar, because you can make the bar big or small, but that's the middle of the strut of the bar here. If you go to Granada, many of the guitars have this bar. But if you go anywhere else in Spain, hardly any people have the bar, but they do have some plates that go in here like that. If you look at historical construction, Antonio de Torres, there's an Antonio de Torres guitar here, that has no bar and no plate. And it has 7 fans or 5 fans, depending on the size of the instrument. Yes. So here, this is a smaller body Torres that I'm building fairly recently here. And Torres, this is the 5-fan system with no bar and no plate here. So what we will be building, if we're building a classical guitar, we're going to be building a 7-fan version of this, which is very fundamental of the Spanish construction. So instead of a 5-fan, we'll build a 7-fan. Because I've got a bar here, I can go to a 5-fan if I want. You get some makers in Granada, they use 5 fans and the bar, but if you just use 5 fans on a bigger instrument, it's not quite enough support. So by taking away the bar or the plate, we go to 7 fans. So in the classicals, we're going to be building with a 7-fan system. With the flamenco guitar, we're going to be using, with no bar or no plate, we're going to be using a 5-fan system with 2 bars angled in like that, which is Granada, Madrid, some of the Santos Hernandez, Archangel Fernando guitars, that sort of thing, with a 5-fan system. Conde Hermanos, people like that. So there's lots of details on the plans that you'll see, but you can also will often refer to these basic things here on the plans here for you to understand how things work. So the more you angle the struts this way, the more angle you have, the tighter the construction. Because here, you have the soundboard here, and it's stiff along its long fibres this way here, but it's flexible across the width. So the more you brace across here, the more you are bracing across this flexibility. The more you open up the fans to a vertical position here, the more it can move. The flamenco guitar traditionally has straighter braces to provide more flexibility. The flamenco guitar is a mystery. It's a great mystery of building a great flamenco guitar. So it's the classical guitar, but the flamenco guitar is really a tricky thing to build. We're getting there. So reinforcement, we'll use simple reinforcements here, very traditional 2 reinforcements in here like this, lower harmonic bar, upper harmonic bar, and some form of plate or strut. You see in here, there's a strut here, which makes this upper section much more rigid here. You need to design your head. Graveyards, always a great place, lots of figures on the stones. So you might find details around the place, probably, or maybe already got the ideas already done. We can look at those. And of course the rosette is what we've been discussing by email and things. So the rosette is something that is very important that you design yourself. We'll start rosette making tomorrow. Today is basic woodworking, necks and things like this, but tomorrow straight into rosette making. So today we're going to be, schedule-wise, 11 o'clock we'll have a coffee, tostada and coffee or something, get the fuel, you think, why would we do that? We'll figure it out. 9 to 11, go for half an hour coffee, try and keep it really concise, come back here, work till 2, 1.5 hours for lunch, and then 3:30 we'll run till 6:30. Yeah. And we at that point will leave, and you'll be like, I'm staying. Okay, so I've got different areas, different materials here. So I've got some spruce stocks here.